Hello everyone. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to address the Global Solution Summit. I'm sorry that circumstances make it impossible for us to attend the summit in person. In these extraordinary times, we are concentrating all our attention and resources on combating a pandemic which is shutting down societies and economies. However, we must also continue our search for solutions to many other global challenges, including aging populations, immigration, and refugee issues. Today, I'd like to address the global crisis of displaced people first. According to UN Refugee Agency, the number of people fleeing war, persecution, and conflict has exceeded a record 70 million globally last year. The refugee problem, which is already a huge humanitarian crisis, is likely to become a major source of global instability in the future. Needless to say that a lasting solution to the problem requires ending conflicts and persecution that forces people to flee in the first place. In addition, we know that migration and climate have always been connected throughout human history. Professor Norman Mayers of Oxford University estimates that climate refugees could top 200 million by 2050. Hence, we must also tackle the impending climate disaster. Policymakers should consider the following solutions to global refugee problem. First, nearly 84% of all refugees are hosted by low and middle-income countries. It is in the interest of the developed world to help these poor host countries deal with the problem. The help could be in the form of ambitious packages of financial support for host countries. A more sustainable form of support could be via trade incentives. This is the premise of a recent report by the Brookings Institute and the 10th Partnership for Refugees using Turkey-EU as a case study. The report suggests tying trade preferences to products involving Syrian refugee labor. Considering that Turkey-EU already have a full customs union agreement, it essentially suggests that the EU could lift custom duties on both agricultural goods and processed agricultural products involving Syrian labor. This proposed model has several advantages over direct financial assistance. First, it's a much more sustainable way of supporting refugees by helping to better integrate refugees into the workforce of the host nation via trade. Second, it also incorporates an automatic and a much fairer burden-sharing model for EU member states. Third, the cost of trade incentives is likely to be insignificant for EU as products will have to be competitively priced. The second overall solution to refugee problem, all countries should commit to investigate and prosecute trafficking gangs who exploit refugees and migrants. The countries should put displaced people's safety and basic human rights above all else. It is worth remembering that resettling the most vulnerable refugees and providing basics like education and healthcare isn't just a human thing to do, but also a huge investment in global peace. Finally, with more and more refugees displaced for longer periods of time, it is not enough to focus on immediate humanitarian needs of refugees. It is absolutely critical to work on helping refugees integrate into their new societies so that they can be contributing rather than being a drain. We know that when refugees are integrated, they can make economic, cultural contributions, bringing new skills, innovations, and links to new markets. We also know that when refugees are excluded and marginalized, they are highly vulnerable to labor exploitation, to child labor, and even forced labor, and to criminality. While government policies, such as allowing refugees to work and to operate businesses, are central to ensuring refugees' economic integration, the business community has also a critical role to play. That is the mission of an organization called the Tent Partnership for Refugees, founded by a Turkish entrepreneur, Hamdi Ulukaya. I'm proud to serve as a board member. Tent is a network of 100 plus multinational companies such as Starbucks, H&M, and Telefonica that are focused not only on philanthropy or donations, but on leveraging their core business operations to integrate refugees. That means businesses looking at how they can bring refugees into their own workforce, recognizing that when given the opportunity, refugees are some of the most dedicated, hardworking employees. It can also mean businesses looking across their supply chain to encourage partners to do the same. It means businesses looking at how they can support and grow refugee entrepreneurs and small businesses, such as through seed capital, training, or helping them with access to market. With the right government policies in place, the business community can help to make sure that refugees strengthen their host countries. The second issue I'd like to cover today is aging populations and immigration. Despite aging populations in many advanced countries, immigration has become one of the most toxic political issues. In particular, the rise of populist, far-right parties and anti-immigration sentiment dominate and distort policies in many of these countries. Even though studies show that cultural concerns, as opposed to labor market conditions, are the main source of anti-immigration sentiment, the pandemic is likely to exacerbate hostility towards migrant workers as unemployment rises on the back of a likely global recession. There are no easy fixes for the twin challenges of an aging population and rising public hostility towards immigrant workers. Policymakers in aging societies should consider the following solutions. First, information campaigns explaining the benefits of immigration can be very helpful. Campaigns should make it clear that increased labor participation, higher contributions from workers and employers, and lower benefits would be inevitable without an increase in immigration. Second, policymakers should make it clear that there is no open-door immigration policy, placing limits on the number of refugees who are allowed in. A number of countries have adopted point-based systems to tap skilled migrant workers, while at the same time providing temporary visas to seasonal workers. Thirdly, tougher integration rules would help, and also deportations of criminals could also help reduce opposition to migrant workers. Finally, a lasting solution would be inclusive economic growth and development. This should help stem the rise of populist parties and anti-immigration sentiment in the long run. I hope my presentation acts as a springboard for more productive discussions. Finally, let's hope that the pandemic doesn't lead to a geopolitical recession. Humanity is in desperate need of rediscovering the importance of cooperation on global issues. I'm proud to be associated with Global Solutions Summit, and I'd like to thank everyone who helped make this summit happen, even if it is in digital form. Thank you.